like works. I'm not a 150 account rep. I'm not a 175 account rep. I had done 248 the year prior, so I was good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, I'm like, I can do this. I know how to do it. Listen to me. It kind of gave me credibility, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I got the phone call from my rep breaking down, I had the right to be like, no, trust me, it'll work out.
Yeah.
Just follow the blueprint.
Well, welcome everyone. This is episode 2 with my good homie Zack Anderson here. He's just an amazing man. Like, first of all, before I get into titles of anything that he's done, just such a good, genuine person. And you know, I even think about like when I met you at David's bachelor party. That was the first time I met you, and I remember just
baby.
like walking down Vegas Strip and just like all of like I was just
we
like
chopped it up for a minute.
I know. I was like, whoa. At the end of the party, I was like, asked David, I was like, who's that tall guy with Zack? Like, he is so sick. And so, like, I'm honored to have you. But anyways, yeah, Zack's, he's the host of Today's the Day podcast, which is one of the podcasts that I actually found and drew a lot of inspiration to start this one. He's a coach at Alchemy Sales, and then he's one of the director of sales at Sunrun.
Yes, sir.
And has a bomb squad.
Meraki, baby.
Just leadership. He's just a leader. So thanks for coming on. But before anything, I just wanted you to like introduce yourself, kind of like talk about where you're from, your story, and that.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I mean, first and foremost, dude, it's funny you say all that. I would come on your podcast any day. Not an honor to have me here. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
It's dope what you're doing. The studio's sick. Setup is sick. Podcast gonna be fire. You're just a good dude. It'll be awesome. And I love to hear that my podcast was even a % of the inspiration to come and do what you're doing. I'm stoked for you.
No, thank you,
I think
bro.
it'll be really, really cool.
I appreciate
I'm stoked.
that.
But yeah, man, my name's Zack. Born and raised in Utah. Grew up over here. Super, super lucky. I have the coolest family in the world. It's the craziest family in the world, but the coolest family. About every mixed match step half sibling you could imagine. There's 18 of us when it's all said and done.
Holy.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
That.
Yeah, there's crazy. A lot. Born into a family of 6 though. Originally, my full blood siblings. And yeah, I mean, parents divorced when I was pretty young. We went through kind of all of it. We felt the 2008 crash pretty heavily. So finances have always been one of those things where I've made a decision really, really young. I didn't want that to be a stress in my life. Mm-hmm. And that was a big motivator for me early on as an adult. I don't even feel like I'm an adult. I feel like I'm still 16. And then I think everything I've done has been, I've been very, very lucky to have the coolest people believe in me, watch out for me, take me under their wing. Mm-hmm. And then I've taken what they say very seriously, and I've done my best to apply everything that I hear from someone smarter than me. And now I'm here, dude. I'm 25, recently engaged, coolest fiance in the world. We were just talking about her, known her for a long, long time, and just life's moving, dude. Having fun, so growing
crazy.
Up.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I feel like there's like parts of like when we talked like a week or 2 weeks ago before you were in New York, I was like, I feel like we're like a lot of us are the same kind of like person. So a lot of what you say and like how you do things, I'm like, I really relate to you in a way. And so for you, like let's just like dive. I have like so many questions that I want to hear from you, whether it's podcasted or not. But for you, I guess like starting with like leadership, like you obviously have like quite a downline. Do you call that in the solar industry? Is it like a downline?
Same. I mean, all the terms are interchangeable. Those are just my people. It's my family. It's my people.
It's your homies and that kind of thing. Like, so just like logistically, like what's your downline look like? First of all, like what's that logistically?
Yeah. So Meraki's the name of the region. That's been the name since the beginning, the origin of it, since I started leading. And what Meraki means, I'm very big on meaning, and I think there needs to be depth to things for them to last. Mm-hmm. And if there's not depth, it doesn't last. But the meaning of Meraki is to do something with soul, creativity, or love, or to leave a piece of yourself in everything that you do.
So sick.
And you know what's funny? Sorry, this is origin story of Meraki, and I'll tell you where it's at, what the downline looks like, how many of my guys are running teams, and I'll shout a lot of them out. But the origin of it was at the time at Vivint when I wanted to become a leader. It was you were branded as the senior manager's last name. So on the mobile report, the team name was Anderson, and the preseason office was Pre-Anderson. That's my last name.
Okay.
And I hated that. Like I did not like it. And I had leadership prior that was like, you're a part of the group. You don't like, it's not you, it's the whole team. And I believe that fundamentally, but I remember I could not convince them to let me go like in our mobile report. This sounds so corny, but it mattered to me. change it from my name to a team name, because it makes it harder for ops. It makes perfect sense why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because then the
That's such a cool. Okay, this is sick.
well, yeah, but like the corporate employees, it's super easy to see all that Zack Anderson's downline. It's super easy. And anyways, it got to the point where I got so like bothered by it, I went and changed my preferred name in Workday, like my actual Workday profile, to Meraki. First name Meraki, last name Meraki, period. So on everything, that was my preferred name. And then on the mobile reports, it changed. So Meraki. And then that created an amount of buy-in that I've never seen. And I mean, obviously now at the company, you can go brand your region, you brand your team, and it's like a pretty accepted thing. But I remember that super specifically because I wasn't big enough to brand it yet at the time.
Yeah.
But I was big enough to control what they called me. And so I made that my name. And that was really, really fun. That was the start of Meraki. And it's been a journey, man. I mean, there's been a lot of people that have been in and out of Meraki. A lot of people that have never really necessarily worked that just love the idea of it. They rock our hats. You rocked our hat on one of your podcasts, which I love to see. And it really is like, it's my family, dude. It's my little brothers work with me. My cousins work with me. My best friends work with me. And it's helped a lot of people get to certain points, and they may not work with us anymore, but they're I think better off because of being a part of Meraki. We were the number one first year region at Sunrun and Fusion this year. So we just went and, we kind of blew up. We made the shift over from our last company from Vivint to Sunrun. When my entire group decided they were going to go as well, and we all went together, and it was phenomenal. It was a crazy year. We learned a ton. We blew up bodies-wise. Right now, Meraki sits around 175 people, 4 different teams.
So crazy.
Some of the coolest leaders you've ever met, some of the youngest cats. I mean, we're by far the youngest group doing what we're doing. Coolest guys. They're so wise beyond their years. I mean, we have leaders. Jason, my little brother, OG, been with me since the beginning. Crew's been with me forever. Jaden Kenny, Race been with me forever. Tyler Gleed, Jackson Bodwan, blowing up out in Florida. Like, there's so many. I'm forgetting a million, and I hope everyone knows I love all of them. Caleb Latier helped me. You met Caleb at David's bachelor party. Yeah. He was with me the year that we came up with Meraki and kind of started it.
Dude, so, it's crazy hearing that, because when I first moved to Utah, like, it's crazy what, like, for me, I mean, not everyone I think would notice this, but I remember seeing these Meraki hats. And I'd be like, what is that? I'm like, all these dope kids, I'm like, are wearing these hats. It's not Chrome Hearts. It's not like it's like, what is this Meraki? And then finally I found out like a year ago that it was that you started that. And the meaning of that is like, that's the part that I'm like, I love that. So when did that, like, the meaning of...
So the meaning, dude, the word I've been obsessed with forever. So I have it tattooed on myself, and that was long before it turned into like a team thing.
Into any business related thing. So
it was just like, it was a word. I'm pretty sure I saw it on Pinterest like my sophomore year. And like, I get obsessed with things, or things like stick out and they like don't leave my brain. And that was one of them. Like that was one of the things where I was like, that would be dope if I start a company, a clothing, whatever. Like, and my brain was always in the realm. I never thought I'd do sales coming out of high school. Out of high school, it was like, I had a clothing brand in high school with Parker and Mikey. You met both them.
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome. And I thought that's what I wanted to do after high school. And dope. Grant done too. Yeah, I don't know if you ever met Grant. Grant's amazing.
Yeah.
But we had this clothing company. I thought that was how I was going to go make money. I didn't know what I was going to do out of high school. And Meraki was just like a word. And then when it was finally like, when I got into sales, I loved it. Not initially. Eventually I loved it. I realized it was like my ticket. And I took it super serious. And then when I started building something, it was really just the feeling of I want my guys bought into something way bigger than just like, I sell this product to this company. It's like, no, I want I want there to be something that's like a little bit deeper than that. And it fits so well. And now, I mean, dude, I want to say there's 45 people walking around with the Meraki tattoo now. So if you hit certain metrics now, I pay for you to go get the tattoo.
No way.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of boys who walk around with the Meraki tattoo
That's
right now.
So sick, dude. Because I think like most of my questions I think are related to leadership, but I want to dive into your individual sales and your ability, and we've talked about this. And so like I know you sold like 300 accounts in one summer.
my best summer ever was at Vivint, like personal sales wise, and the number at Vivint, if you're not familiar, if you are, you know it, is like 300 is like that barrier. I guess it's like the 4-minute mile. It's like
the golden door. I think it is a golden door.
I don't know. I
need to look it up because I actually do think it is a golden door.
I'm not entirely sure on
The whole Sam
the,
tagging.
yeah, the all of that. But I did know that at Vivint, that was like, it was like a badge of honor. If he's a 300 account rep, that's kind of how you get introduced when you're at Vivint. And I was really, really bad at first. I was not a good, talented salesman at all. And to go hit 300 literally took everything I had in me. And for all you Vivint guys, this was in the olden days when we were going off FP, not EFP, and my average RMR was higher than the average, just so you know. I just want to be clear on that. It's not revenue. This was like,
I don't understand any of that, but that's
like,
so
it's
dope.
like pest control now. You measure revenue, so you can sell less accounts at a bigger value and get it quicker.
But
this was back in the day where it was raw serviced accounts, and on top of my raw serviced accounts, I wasn't one of the old dogs that was slinging doorbell bangers. Only Vivint guys are gonna know what I'm talking about. I was selling fat packs over 90 average. I was doing my thing. Now, guys, by the way, even doing 300 is amazing. I don't know about the whole golden door thing, but what I do know is there are guys that just absolutely shit on that. There's the beasts out there that go and do 550, 600, like that just click at a different level that I could never comprehend.
But at that time, that was, it
300 was amazing.
Yeah,
300. I mean, there's no arguing, and I think anyone in the space, but yes, my best personal year, and that was also a year that I was managing just over 2,200 accounts. We went to an undrafted market, so we went to a market that was not like a hot spot. It was like a no one wants it, so you guys go ahead and take it. And it's turned into like I'd go back there any day of the year. It's a phenomenal market. People draft it. It was amazing, dude. It was a crazy year, a lot of ups and downs. And like we talked on my podcast recently with you, just what it takes, like personal sales wise. That was more important to me for two things. Number one, I wanted to be taken seriously. And when I'm walking around the building, I want people to know, like, I may not be the most naturally talented, but you're going to take me serious because if I'm going to go, if I have something that I want to go and do, I'm going to do it. And that was one thing. And then the other thing is I wanted to be able to train people to do that. Like I want to know what it took so I could go train my guys if they ever wanted to go be a 300 account rep. And that was always like you can recruit to that, whatever. Right. But for me, it's like, dude, I wanted to be able to look my guys in the eye and be like, trust me, this like works. I'm not a 150 account rep. I'm not a 175 account rep. I had done 248 the year prior. So I was good. But like, no, I'm like, I can do this. I know how to do it. Listen to me. It kind of gave me credibility, I felt. So that when I got the phone call from my rep breaking down, I had the right to be like, no, trust me, it'll work out.
Yeah.
Just follow the blueprint. And that was my best personal year. I mean, I think more impressive than that year, not more impressive. 300 took everything I had.
Yeah.
But my last year at Vivint was a crazy, crazy year. I was supposed to have someone else managing offices. I was in a regional position, so I was going to travel to offices and not really sell personally. It was like that was where I was at in my head. Prior to summer, things went wrong, and I ended up having to run an office while also trying to run 3 other brand new offices. So it was really chaotic.
Which
and
no one knows. No one sees that.
Yeah, no one really knew. And like even my guys had seen the year prior, even after my 300 year, that was my best year. But then I do over 250, over 250. Like I knew I could do that and still fulfill on all my other buckets of work and who I had to watch out for. But this year specifically, this last year at Vivint, they're like, are you going to throw down? Are you going to throw down? Like now you're coming out, you're running an office. To them, it's like, oh, Zach's just going to go do it. But then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I have these other 3 offices. Well, they're going to crumble if I don't give them all my attention. I know that. So my whole, I told my guys, I guess my rite of passage to be like, no, I still got it was I won't bagel. There won't be a day I bagel. It doesn't matter how many phone calls I have. It doesn't matter if I'm in a different market. It doesn't matter if I'm traveling to visit a team. I'm just not going to bagel. I'm not going to go throw down, but I'm not going to bagel. And I think I did 120 something my last year my last year at Vivint. And there was literally, but that was it. I just didn't bagel. I went out, I made sure every day.
And I want to make this clear because a lot of pest guys are going to be hearing this. And I have friends that sold security. Yeah. Security is not the same as a pest control
very
account.
different. Very different from pest.
To say that you're not going to bagel is pretty insane because a lot of guys that are good bagel frequently.
Yeah, I'll put it in. I mean, the year I did 300, I had a few bagel days. And I remember them pretty explicitly. I was as good as I had ever gotten, which was a pretty high level at the company. And I had bagel days that summer. I didn't have a single bagel day. There was days, I remember one day in particular. Sorry, this is kind of a tangent, but I haven't even thought about this in forever. That I promised my guys I wouldn't bagel publicly because all of them were kind of calling me out. Everyone always has that thing with their leader. Like I remember when my regional would come into town, I'd be like, "Are you going to go throw down or what are you going to do?" Yeah. I didn't realize he's got 4 hours of phone calls after our correlation meeting. He came out here to run correlation, not to go throw down.
Yeah.
And then he would go throw down too, and I'd be like, holy shit. Like, it was awesome.
Oh!
Right? And then you realize, oh, he is good. Like, it wasn't a fluke 5 years that he sold X amount.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I remember there was a day, I mean, first correlation ended. I had 2 meetings. I don't remember what they were for. 2 meetings. And then I actually recorded a podcast that day because I was trying to balance the podcast that summer as well. Then I had a call with a rep. It was right around prime time, which is usually when I'd be out. I'd be out at 5 and I'd sell my account every day. Right between 5 and 7, I'd get my account, and then I'd be able to do all my other things. Rep called me right at 5, and it was like a mental breakdown day for him. Mental breakdown, like a 4-hour phone call, right? It might have been 3-hour phone call, but I remember it was pitch black. I hadn't knocked a door, like dark. I was an hour drive away from our apartment. My girlfriend was back at the apartment. Like, my car group hadn't been picked up yet either. I have to pick them up and drive them an hour back because I still took a car group, and then I would just work from my phone. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do. Didn't have an area assigned. It was a Monday. Like, I hadn't had anything figured out. I usually figure all that out in my 2-hour gap. Nothing. And I just remember I'm like, shit. Like, I remember that was the only time that summer where I was like, there was more doubt than there was confidence that I was going to find something. I'm like, bro, it's almost 9 already. And I got out. I remember I got out and I was on these highway roads, Jacksonville, North Carolina. So we're out in like middle of nowhere. And I love North Carolina. I had to drive all the way back to Wilmington that night because that's where we lived. And I remember I just started wandering. I didn't know if I was in one of my guys' areas. I didn't know, but I'm like, I'm going to go find a deal. And I remember I went and I was like, knock, knock. No one was answering. First contact I got, I had told myself, if you get an answer, you have to make it work. You have to.
There's no option.
No, there's no option. And this dude answers the door. He's a hard ass, comes out so hard. And I don't even remember how it happened. Diffused him, got him to talk to me. He had just gotten a competitor, just gotten ADT. And he told me it was perfect. He loved it. It was perfect. Way cheaper than anything I could do, blah, 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 blah. And then I just homied down with him. And I was like, dude, just be honest. I know you don't love it. None of your neighbors love it. What do you not love about it? That was and he's like, man, I wasn't going to tell you, my camera hasn't been working. And boom, we got inside. And it was a dogfight still. Yeah. But we got him sold. I picked my guys up 10:40. I apologize to those guys. I know G-Rat was the only one I remember that was in my car group that day. Sold the dude. He was right on this highway road. So every day driving out to area, I saw him. I saw the Vivint sign. And it was just a reminder. It was awesome. It was awesome. But that, I would say, was a more impressive feat than doing 300 for me. That was harder for me.
The things that no one sees.
It's crazy.
That's so cool.
I don't even think I've told my guys that story, really. I just sent the selfie.
I could almost get emotional thinking because I know. I know the whole car group, guys waiting, texting you mid-deal.
Blowing me up. And
blowing
I feel
your
terrible.
phone up, dude. Sending pins. Dude, where are you okay?
And they know they know my bottom priority is my personal production. So they're like, why are you making us stay out till 10:30?
But your word, you told them you would.
But I promised I wouldn't bagel. And
that's what you did.
That was it. And I got called out. So I got beat so many times. Guys call me out. We'll go beat you. I'm like, I know. I'm just not going to bagel. I had to remove my pride of because it used to be oh yeah. I had a lot of deals with my guys to minimize complaints where it relied on my personal production. If they didn't like their area, they could make a bet with me, $1,000, but I get 2 hours in their area. And if I sell one, they have to pay me $1,000 and they stay there for 2 weeks. If I don't sell one, I move them. They choose whatever they want. And I give them $1,000. If they want to call me out a head-to-head in a week, I'll go take them on. When we would do a Meraki Madness comp where it's 1v1 the best, I would go and I'd take 2 or 3 people in my category where it's all of you guys against me, let's go. That was
it's leadership.
There's a lot of pride. I don't know what it was. It might have been ego more than anything, maybe leadership, but maybe a little too much ego as well. But yeah, that was what I was used to, and it's been weird not having that. Because it's a different position, a different situation, and I actually really enjoy that part of it. People try and get away from the knocking and the personal production. To me, that stuff's so fun, and it's blissful. You get to get out. It's all you have to think about.
You're alone. It's you and what you have to do.
And you know what you have to do. And there's no
you already know what you got to do.
You're not relying on anyone else. It's all on you. I love it.
That's so cool, and that's refreshing to hear. Someone with such a huge downline. Someone that has impact and is a manager position to be no, I miss it. I love it. And it's weird, this new position.
I miss it. And my guys still call me out. And dude, what I hope, this is for Jackson, because Jackson always calls me out if he listens to this. He calls everyone out, actually. He just chirps at everyone. But I hope there's a point where it's I figure out my role now and it's on autopilot where I can go out and go throw down and compete with the dudes again. Because I think it's so freaking fun, and I think it does a ton. I think when they see you've still got it, or if you go, even if you just have time to go shadow one dude and they start losing the deal and you save it and they watch you save, they're like, holy shit, like he actually knows
But and then I want to also
how to
make
do
clear
this.
too, like you started knocking. You've been knocking for like how long?
Oh, dude, I knocked
How
full summers. I knocked 7 full summers.
so like for people that are like he's 25 doing the math.
So summer of
No.
2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22,
You've
23,
been
and
knocking
then
for a
24
minute.
I did not.
Yeah. So you have
Correct.
definitely. I wanted to dive into like impact. That's a huge thing in this podcast, talking about people with impact and like just going back. Let's go back to what I like introduced like at David's party in
Yeah.
Vegas. The vibe that you had with me, and I'm a big feeling guy. Like I'm super. If I don't get a good vibe from someone, I'm chill. I'll connect with you and talk with you, but like I'll forget about you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's something about you that like made me just like, what the heck? It wasn't even a deep conversation. We are just talking. And for you, how do you have such like impact on people? Like you may not think you do, but like
Yeah.
leadership. Talk to me about how you lead. What's the best leader impact? Just talk.
Yeah,
to me.
I mean, I hope I do, but I've never like, it's like an internal battle. It's the whole, it's everything. You always wish you were better so you could have a bigger impact. But I do know one of my driving forces. I've had the best role models and mentors and just like people to look up to in my life that I recognize wholeheartedly. They are a massive reason for any amount of fulfillment I've found in my life, any amount of success, any of that. And like I say it all the time, if I could be 1% as impactful to my people as Casey Ball was to me, I'm happy. Like I don't need to go make all the money, whatever. And then it's like, it's weirdly addicting when you can see like, oh, dude, I'm like helping these dudes, these guys, like, or these girls, like I'm helping these people just by leading by example and letting them plug in. And then you start to realize like, and I think what you're talking about, and I've felt it with a lot of people, like, and I've always questioned like, why, I call it a presence. Why do certain people have a presence? Because a presence you remember, conversations you maybe don't, things people have you probably don't remember as often unless you really like it, but like a presence you always remember. And why do people have presence? And I think it's because in the world people are so uncertain, not confident, and they're almost like insecure to the point that everyone's always looking through a lens of like, how does this benefit me or not benefit me or whatever, right? And I've been lucky enough to be around people like a Todd Peterson where the presence is like unbelievable. And I think what I've realized is he's so certain. I crave certainty, and so does everybody else. And when I spend 5 minutes with him, I realize this dude's certain. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's very, very like selfless in how he moves, and I hopefully I want to do better at that. He's selfless in how he moves, and he is not someone I would ever want to compete against. And like you crave those attributes in a person. And I think when you're around someone that has those, especially, and dude, I go through days and weeks and months where I'm in like a slump. When I'm in a slump, I like crave being around the Casey Balls, the Todd. I'll do anything to just go be around them because I can like borrow their confidence, borrow their certainty. And I think I've had those situations with people in my life where it's like I get to go be around someone and I realize like, okay, cool. Like that's, it kind of gives you almost like okay, that I want to borrow whatever some of that is, and I want to implement that in what I'm doing. For me, that's been the presence and the impact immediately that I see in people. And then once someone has a presence, then you're interested, then you're listening, and then you just listen to how they talk and how they move and what they talk about. And dude, if you spend an evening with someone, like we were together just for a bachelor party in Vegas, you learn pretty quickly like, is this dude like, what does he prioritize? And you'll realize the people who prioritize the things that seem super unimportant, right, the shallow things, is just because they're insecure and they're compensating, right? And I think that's what I would say is like, if someone has a presence, you're going to listen, and then once you listen, you can get to know their character a little bit, and it doesn't have to be a crazy deep conversation. It can also just be like, hey man, I'm the odd man out in this group. Who's going to actually go out of their way to talk to me and have a conversation? And I always try and be that person. Like, I don't ever want someone to feel left out. I don't ever want someone to feel like they don't belong there. I don't ever want someone to feel like it's like a ego contest when they're in a room. I would way rather go bro down, hang out, meet the newer people, because I've been that guy. And I think that's, I've experienced people doing that for me, and it's been like life changing. So that's what I would say in that situation. But I'm honored that you even say that, because
Yeah.
I would never think that about myself.
No, for sure. Well, it's you. That's who you are. Like, in a nutshell, is just genuine, just a good person. And so,
Trying.
I'm not trying,
Do an
doing.
asterisk there, dude. I'm trying.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
doing my
definitely,
best.
definitely doing. Another thing too is like, where do you think vulnerability lies in leadership? Like, do you think, because like, where's like, from your experience?
Yeah, I think vulnerability is so important. I have two opinions on that. Can
Yeah,
give you both?
I want to hear. I don't know why I asked that.
One
I just tell you.
opinion is like a baby boomer view on it. And vulnerability is weak. No one does it. Everyone's like, macho man, don't do it, right? That's one opinion. And that's very popular. Like, oh, dude, I'm going to be vulnerable because my parents weren't, and I want to be, right? And there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Oh, yeah.
My second opinion is there's also the very unhealthy amount of like, dude, I'm going to be vulnerable with everyone I meet right when I meet them. I'm going to like, at the end of the day, homie, like bro to bro, it's like there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
So I think there's a balance. There's a middle. Like or maybe our generation, it's almost like praised too much to be vulnerable that you're almost just complaining.
It's like talking about weakness is becoming a strength almost.
Exactly. Whereas on the flip, it's like being so hardcore shell that you don't talk to anyone about. No. I think vulnerability is a tool, and it's also a medicine. And like you can use vulnerability to go and help other people as a tool and relate and level and like go create that type of connection. And then you can also go and use it for yourself. Like go be vulnerable so people can help you.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's abused or if it's like vulnerability, I think often gets used to get attention right now.
I agree. Yeah.
And I don't view that as like true vulnerability.
Yeah.
True vulnerability is like looking at people and being like, look, man, I'm doing my freaking best and I fell short and I'm sorry. This is my plan to fix it though. And I hope you understand.
Yeah.
And if not, I totally get it. That's vulnerability in leadership.
Yeah.
Other vulnerability is when we left Vivint to go to Sunrun, it's, hey man, I'm absolutely terrified to do this. I'm frankly in a really good spot right now. And I don't know how it's going to pan out for me in particular, but I truly believe in the opportunity. And that's another form of vulnerability. Another form is like you got to be pretty vulnerable to go and paint a vision that you're actually going to go verbally commit to out loud. It sounds weird, but if you're going to go paint a 5-year vision for your people, or you're going to go tell them, hey, I'm not bageling, that's like weirdly vulnerable, because then if you do, you're opening yourself up to failure.
That is so crazy, because that is a sign. And in the door-to-door space especially, there's always guys.
Everyone talks. Everybody talks. So it's almost like there's a balance of it, and I think vulnerability is amazing, and like I think it's very important. And if you're not willing to get vulnerable, and when I say it's a medicine, let's say you have a sickness, if you're not willing to be vulnerable and open up, you're never going to get the medicine to the sickness. You're never going to be able to go and like get past it and work through it. And it's honestly, it's hard. It's weird. Vulnerability is a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why I felt like I wanted to ask that. Maybe it's because your energy is like, the energy you give is not an energy of like, it feels like if I needed to open up about the darkest, deepest thing, you would be down to ride that conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the energy. But then you meet some leaders, and I could name them, but I won't. You meet some leaders and you're like, I could never have that conversation with you. Not because I don't think you would, but I just don't get the vibe that you are so, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think we talked about this as well a few days ago. Like, when you've been to certain depths, you kind of have the right to relate to somebody else who's either there or has been there. And I think the hard thing is if you ever feel rejected when you're trying to be vulnerable, or you feel like they don't understand or whatever, they don't empathize, it may be because they physically can't relate. And like it's not a
shot at them, yeah.
It's not their fault. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like I'm also particular about, like, I'm very, very, very vulnerable with my struggles at work with people that I look up to that I know I can be open with, like a Casey. I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But when I know they probably won't get it, I'm not just gonna go bitch and moan and complain.
No, yeah.
Right? But I think that's also important to be aware of, is, are you somebody that people can go and like tell those things to? And as a leader, especially, to tie it in with leadership, like as a leader, especially, your people, and I know I'm not perfect. I know my guys are going to listen and be like, oh, well, there was that one time you shut me down, whatever. you have to be someone, so I apologize, someone that your people can call and like confide in. And then it's really weird when someone's vulnerable with you on the other side of the table. You have to listen, but you also as a leader have to, this is really hard. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn, and I'm still learning. And this is why I say my guys will call me a hypocrite, is you have to learn when they need someone to listen. You have to learn when they need someone to empathize, and you have to learn when they really just need someone to say, hey, suck it up. Mm-hmm. And like, it's really hard to tell someone to suck it up when they're being vulnerable with you, because you don't know how they're going to take that, but that is actually what they need. Mm-hmm. And that's also a really, really weird dance. Like, it's really hard. And I've had people do that with me. Like, once you develop a certain level of trust, you can take that, right? Like, from Casey, if he's like, suck it up, I'm like, crap, I got to suck it up. But if there's someone that I don't have this 10 years of trust built with, and they're like, suck it up, I'm like, F you, homie. You don't get it? I'm like, no, this shit sucks. Like, screw you. Don't tell me to suck it up. So it's really, really weird. Like, yeah, it's very strange. And being a leader, you have to learn to wear a lot of hats, and you have to learn how to answer what and when to answer what. And it's an ongoing challenge for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And so for you, how do you feel like you influence people the most? Like, what traits, or not traits, but like how do you influence the most people? Like, if you were to bring it down.
I'm a copycat.
Yeah.
I
do remember Casey. It's funny you say that, because Casey Baugh, Grit. We have I texted you. It was like a year ago. GPS. He's talking. Everyone's in tears, and he brings up Zack Anderson, and I'm like sitting there. I'm like,
that's awesome.
Love that guy. But I do remember him talking about being a sponge, and he talked for like 2 minutes about you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Dude, I'm a copycat. I was told to be a shameless copycat when I was like a blank slate. And what I mean by a blank slate was, I think I had a good heart when I was in high school. I really cared about a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I was a massive like socializer, which was weird because came from being introverted, and it was a decision I made, and it was awkward and it was hard. And honestly, there were days where I felt like whatever. I felt like it probably wasn't the right move, but like, I think I was a really good blank slate, meaning I was very open to learn too, because I was also lost when I got into like my adult life. When I turned 18, I was nice. I had a lot of friends, I thought, and I had some of the best friends in the world and really cool people, but I had nothing going for me. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any wisdom to share with anyone. I didn't have anything, right? And Casey helped me go and see things, and that was very early. He said, be a copycat and be unapologetic about it. Like, if something is working for someone, go and ask them every detail about it, and then do it exactly how they do it, and watch. You'll go duplicate their results. And I have done that. And now when you say like, I think the question was what attributes or what do I do that has the most amount of impact or influence? One of the two is impact or influence.
Either way, yeah.
Is really like, I basically go and I pay a lot of money and I spend a lot of time trying to learn things that change my life. And when I find them, I scream them from the rooftops until everyone's sick of hearing it. Like, when I learned about state, story, and strategy from Tony Robbins, it's like, that's all we talked about for 2 years in my region. Like, control your state, control your story, control your strategy. And it's like, that's not my whatever, but I think my biggest thing, and the thing that I've carried through my whole career, that I think I try and instill in everyone, is like, dude, and the whole point of the podcast, actually, my podcast and everything that I do is like, dude, your life is what it is. Your life is exactly how you choose to see it. Mm-hmm. And you can choose to see everything as miserable, and there's always a million things you can find that are gonna be so heavy and hard. Mm-hmm. But you can also go and look at it totally, totally different. Mm-hmm. So if there's one thing I hope I'm communicating to all my people, and when they see me and we cruise into the freaking gas station in a rental car and I'm drifting a minivan and we all have energy drinks and we're just going nuts, it's just like, dude, yeah, we could be having a slow week, but we're having a fucking blast. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, we are having so much fun. And when we're driving out to area and music's blasting and like, we're having a good time, I want my guys to understand, like, dude, if you control your energy, you control your reality. Yeah. And like, if you can go and make the hard things fun, imagine how fun the fun things will be. Yeah. And like, I hope my guys see that. And that's why I really, really liked being out there. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the time what people need in door-to-door specifically from a leader is absolute certainty, undeniable energy, and just tenacious effort. They just need to see that. And if they see it, even if everything's going, even if that manager's bagling, but they see it, they're going to take a little bit of it and they're going to go do way better.
Yeah.
And I hope my guys understand from all the years of hearing me preach and train and everything. I know they get sick of hearing my story and all of it. It's just, dude, if you can control your energy and if you can control your perspective on situations, your life can be so dope, regardless of if you're 18 and have never made $1 in your life, or you're 28 and you're retiring because you've done so well. I don't care. Your life can be amazing or miserable regardless of your circumstances. And like, I'm just a copycat. I learned that from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is the example he always brings up is he doesn't mention names of people he coaches, but he coaches billionaires with a B that are miserable, like miserable. Right? And then he asks if you've ever met someone who has seemingly nothing going for them, that are just through the roof stoked. And the only variable in that is how they're choosing to view their position in life. It's the only variable. It's the only difference. And it's like, and a lot of people think there's substitutes that'll bring you happiness, like people loving you or having money. Money's a very common one. People think if they have money, they're going to be happy. But then the more wholesome ones are like, oh no, if people love me, like I'm going to be happy. And then Tony Robbins always uses the example, Robin Williams. Like, how many people would say they loved Robin Williams? And everyone would raise their hand. The dude was like a walking light. He's amazing. Everything he ever touched was gold. Anyone who ever worked with him loved him. He brought so many people happiness. He hung himself, right? Like, so that's not the answer to the solution. So truly the only answer is, how do you choose to see your reality, and what state are you living in? Like, do you control the state that you're living in? And if I can be the most tired one in the office, been up until 2 a.m., taking calls, doing all the stuff, and I can roll up with the most amount of energy to correlation, drifting the freaking minivan, letting dudes slap my back to give me energy, shotgunning a Red Bull, whatever it is. Getting abused, dude. But if I can go and have that energy, my guys have no excuse. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's for sure. That's sick, dude. That's sick. Well, dude, this is a lot of gems in here. It's crazy.
Sorry,
how you could
ramble.
have like
that's
not even rambling.
I apologize.
No, dude, that's all I need. That's all I wanted. This is like people think I'm doing this podcast because I'm like trying to like, it's not. It's for me. Like, I'm doing this for me, and then the outcome is a dope podcast that I can put out. But the question that I'm asking like all my guests is like, the name of the podcast is Grit and Grace. Yeah. It's my 2 favorite words in the dictionary. And I want to make this clear too. Like, it was before I joined the Grit. Like, it's tattooed on my leg. Like,
I don't know,
before
bro.
I think
the Grit's getting another sponsor for free. I'm liking it, bro.
Literally.
Ben and John are geniuses.
They're just
dude.
Like, yes, this guy's got a podcast.
That's what you think, bro. Shout out those guys.
Shout out to them for sure.
Love them.
But as far as like that, when you hear Grit and Grace, how would you describe it? Like, what comes to your mind?
When I hear Grit and Grace, I think in everything there's a surface level of understanding, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until it becomes an intrinsic understanding of a word or a one-liner or a very cliche statement or whatever. And I think with Grit and Grace, if you can understand what those two things mean to you at an intrinsic level, so you know it in your body, you don't just understand what they mean, and you can practice them, meaning you can practice giving yourself grace when you're not on your A game, and you can practice grit when you need to. Like, there are seasons for everything, and if you can intrinsically understand what grace means to you and practice it with yourself and other people, and what grit means to you, and you can practice it within your own life and help other people practice it as well, I think it would be impossible not to live in a beautiful state. I don't think there's a way where you wouldn't be happy. And I think it's always going to be a dance, and understanding something intrinsically also means you understand you're always going to fall short, or often going to fall short in it. And that's where grace comes in. And then it's also realizing you probably have desires and desirable outcomes that you want to have happen. That's where grit comes in, right? And you're probably going to fall short of those things, and that's where grace comes in. And then when you fall short of it, you're probably going to want to go get it again, and that's going to take a lot of grit. And then when you go and you give it everything you got, you realize you've been lacking in other buckets of your life. That's where grace comes in. And I think I love it, dude. I think it's super, super, super synergetic, and I think the more you can understand at a deeper level certain words or certain phrases or whatever, that's my understanding of it. And I think that's why it's so powerful. So I love it.
Dope. Well, once again, thanks, brother.
Always,
Seriously,
homie. I
appreciate
love
you
being
more
here.
than
We'll do it
you know.
again anytime.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well,
Absolutely.
that's a wrap.
Boom.
Thanks.
Run through the intro one more time.
Okay.
Just pretend to do the intro one more time.
Okay, is it just the whole, like, even the titles and stuff?
No, not the titles. Just introducing. It's episode 2. I almost said Steven Anderson.
Same thing, bro.
Zack Anderson.
Okay,
So
cool.
Just kind of run through the first 10 seconds.
Dope, yeah.